Hello everybody, today we are going to play with strings. We're gonna learn how to add string to another string and how to slice them and how to create big strings that are long. Okay, so let's start from creating a simple string, for example name, and let's put there my name, Arkadiusz. Let's create another variable, let's call it last name, and let's put there my surname, so Włodarczyk. And now I would like to print both at once, so my full name at once. So I need to create another variable and put inside name. And now how to add name to last name? We need to use the operator plus. So something like that. And now we can print the full name like that. As you can see, it's working fine, but hey, there is no space here. There is no space because, well, I didn't add it. There is no space here and there is no space here. We could add space like that, but that's not a good idea because what if I wanted to print it later without that space, right? It's best to add the space here. How to do it? Well, in order to create space, we're gonna do something like that. So double quote, space, double quote. So we just added a space between the name and last name using the plus signs. And now when I run the module, as you can see, we have got space here. So it works fine. What if I wanted to create a very long string? Like for example, this is a text that was taken from somewhere. And let's now copy it and do something like that. As you can see, this is long, it's hard to read. It's a good idea to, when you have a string like that, to somehow, add the enter. But there is a problem. As I have said, Python thinks that enter is end of instruction. And how to do something like that? Well, we can, for example, use the backslash. Backslash is gonna inform your interpreter that the text has not finished yet. Okay? So like that. And now when I run the module, everything works fine. That's one of the way. There is also one more. You can use comment here. That's funny because when you run it, as you can see, it's working fine, but there is a small difference. As you can see, we have got enter in the place where we put it here. Right? As you can see, this is a text that was, and we hit the enter here, and we have got also here enter, right? When we did it that way, as you can see, everything was in one line. That's the difference. And you might be also why you could assign comment to the variable. Well, interpreter, when he sees that comment is assigned to variable, it is then not ignored. It will be interpreted like if it was a long string. That's how it works. Okay. So if you do not assign the comment anywhere, it means that it is a comment. It must be ignored. Otherwise, it is just a long text. Okay. Now let's learn how to slice strings. And believe me, it's very useful. For example, you want to check very often if the first letter is big, if it is capitalized. Or sometimes you want to check if the first three letters are equal to something. Believe me, it's very often used when you are gonna program in future. So how to do something like that? Well, the first thing you need to know is that when you have got text, you start counting from 0. So the first letter is at index 0, second at index 1. So it's always -1, right? The last letter, the sixth letter, is at the index 5. And what is funny, in Python, you can count from back. In other languages, mostly it's not possible. So you can put -1 and you can count from the end. So how to use that information that we have just learned. We can do something like that. Use the square brackets and access the first index, so the first letter that is at the 0 position. When I run the program, as you can see, we have got here now T, because this is the first letter. Okay, let's try it with name. As you can see, it's A. If I want to access the last letter, I can just type something like that, -1. Great, it's Z. When I want to access every letter but the first one, I can do something like that. So when you add the colon here, like that, as you can see, when you don't add at the start, at the left side anything, you will get the entire string. But when you put 1 on the left side, you will get everything but the first letter. If you put here 1, what will happen? As you can see, we have got only first letter. So everything up to index 1, right? So if I put here 5, we have everything up to index 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and as you can see, it's 5, but I said up to 5, and we need to add the word not including the 5th element, okay? You can also do something like that, -1, which will mean that you want to access everything but last element. Everything but not last 2 elements, so not including last 2 elements. You might be like, how to remember it? Well, you do not need to worry about remembering it, because every time when you're gonna want to use it, you can look it up on the internet, or you can play with the simple string like that and just get how it works, right? When you do something like, for example, that from 1 to 3, what will we get? R and key. So let's look here. 0, 1. So from position 1 to 2 and 3. So 2. The second position or to third position, not including the third position. Do not worry if you cannot memorize it, because believe me, even when I want to slide string, I always relearn it by putting simple string here in the Python and trying to see how it works. Really. The most important for you as a programmer is to remember that you can do something like that it's possible to slide string, right? The thing that you have to remember how it works is that you can access each element like that. So the first element, the second element, the third element. It's very important for you to remember that you come from the 0, not from 1, right? And it's also very important for you to know that in order to access the last element, you need to type -1. So if you understand these two things, you are ready to go. And every time when you want to access more than one element, you can just relearn. Do not worry, it's not so often used, but yeah, it's very useful. You will see when you start programming. And the cool thing you need to know is, again, when you run the program, the module in Python, you can still access the full name here, right? And you can now do something like that. I want to access the last element, right? So I want to access full name -1. As an exercise, create variable link and do something like that. HTTP, and now type here, for example, the domain that you want to access. And now check if the link starts with HTTP. You do not know how to check, you do not know how to make conditions yet, but you know now how to slice that string and get that HTTP, right? And in future, you will learn how to condition, how to check if that sliced string is equal to that. That way you can later in future check if somebody typed HTTP or he hasn't typed it, right? That's only the lesson. Thank you very much.